So it begins.
Announced today that following this meeting, we will establish a national capability across police forces to tackle violent disorder.
Chinese drone swarms coming to an airspace near you.
What is that?
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here we go.
Go for it.
Okay, that device you see plugged into the iPhone, that's my video transmitter. Now this is my video repeater. Basically it takes any video signal coming out of the iPhone and it boosts it, enhances it. And I can take over any other video signal that I want that I put this close to. So what we're filming on the iPhone right now, I'm gonna put on one of these screens. I'm gonna give you a demonstration of how this works.
I think this guy's a genius. It's awesome. Netflix and chill just got a little more interesting.
Have y'all come across this yet? No, because seriously, we need to know what this is. Like, we need to know what this is because this isn't the sun, y'all. This was in Chattanooga, Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains yesterday. Let me show you what transpired of this. Like, it all started looking something like this. Do y'all see that? This ring of smoke, whatever it is, and then it goes to looking like this. Look at this, right? Could this be like creating a portal of some sort? Look at that. Look at that. This is on the Smoky Mountains. Look, what is that, y'all? Look. Like, y'all see that burning fire in the middle of it? But it looks like something is coming through the firmament. And y'all see that? Look at this. What is going on? This is literally like the Truman Show, y'all. It's like something is like cutting the glass or the firmament like to come in, or like literally a portal, like a window. You know what I'm saying? A porthole. And it's literally a hole. And then you see this fiery red thing over here, kind of like Jupiter, right?
Reminds me of Doctor Strange.
I believe the spiritual world is merging with this physical world, hence why all the material things, the physical things is breaking down. But could this also be the reason why it's been so bright outside? Have y'all noticed that? At nighttime, it's been really bright. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. I am only raising awareness to interesting situations during these interesting times. Like, comment, share for more videos like this. Let's get this shift, y'all. Peace in.
Let's suspend our disbelief for a moment and say that this is real, and we are fortunate that there's a video of this. But the question is, how come there's only one? If this has been going on everywhere, a lot of people will be taking videos of this. Makes you think.
Chinese drone swarms coming to an airspace near you. This is China's drone swarm machine, capable of launching 48 kamikaze drones in a single salvo, and the drone canisters can be fitted to a helicopter as well. The drones exit the canister pneumatically, with the canisters deploying a parachute for ground safety. The drones are said to have 40 minutes of battery and can be controlled in a swarm using a HUD display, arguably more effective than an MLRS.
If China is only doing this as a show of force, I wouldn't mind. It just lets other nations know not to go to war with China, unless they have plans of conquering other nations.
I'm fully convinced. We're stealing all of our tech from ancient temples. I know what you're thinking. That's just one example. No, it's not. That's a different temple, different ceiling. Okay, turbines are really complex. They got a lot of moving parts. Yeah, and they put those in there too. They're on the pillars. Speaking of pillars, you ever seen these? These are ionic pillars. Ionic pillars. I caught you. I'm onto you. I got you. Okay. Okay, parabolic antenna. It's a fancy word for satellite TV dish. Egypt. Egypt. Yeah, y'all have been to Karnak, I know. But have you been to the Osirian? Because from the top down, it looks a whole lot like a really basic computer processor. Probably just took a quick drive over to Promenon and upgraded the hardware, huh? Where are you going to plug that in? Ancient city in China? Right there, maybe? Feeling a little bit more Middle Eastern, maybe Persepolis? High frequency oscillator. You mean Angkor Wat? Yeah, cat's out of the bag, buddy. Micro resonator. You mean Tamil Temple? I didn't forget about the circuit diagram. Yeah, you didn't reverse engineer an acoustic masterpiece. Plasma confinement. Well, that's a quick little upgrade if you just go to Dendera. Then you got a cathode ray tube, old tube TV. Quantum computer. I need to see the sky miles, especially from the guys at CERN. Y'all think you're just so smart, huh? I'm on to you.
I honestly think that past civilizations know what's going on in terms of how everything is cyclical, and this is in some form their way of record keeping to let the next generations know what happened or what is happening, or at least to guide them in their daily lives. If that's the case, it makes you wonder why our generation tries real hard to keep this information from us. They even burn buildings. They even go as far as bury the evidence. What is it they know that they don't want us to know?
The video, whose origins remain unknown, features a man fishing. As he casts his line, something very unusual happens.
Look at the sky. Look. You see it?
The sky appears to change colour from deep blue to overcast in a split second.
It doesn't look natural. I'm still on the fence when it comes to the simulation theory, or the theory that the sky is a simulation. But with videos like this, I don't know.
Be the only person on the planet that didn't know that you can just pick a piece of fruit off of a tree and...
I have heard people say this before in the US, and it was confusing at first, but as time goes on, I'm starting to kind of understand why people don't realize this. One of my jobs, I work as a project manager for a construction company, and a lot of the workers come from south of the border for the season. Places like Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador. They work here for the season, then they go back home. They come from different cultures. One day, I'm rolling up to a pretty affluent neighborhood where we have a job going on, and as I go up to the job site, there are some workers that are eating fruit off of an apple tree. Well, they're eating apples off of an apple tree. The homeowner's wife comes out and she goes, "Hey, I don't want to alarm you or anything, but some of these guys are eating apples off of that tree right there." Back, and I realize, ellos están comiendo manzanas. So I say, "I'm so sorry. They should have asked permission. I apologize." She says, "No, I'm not worried about that. I just don't want them to get sick because those are not edible apples." I look at her, I look at the manzanas, and I say, "What do you mean? Like they're not ripe, or like, what do you mean they're not edible apples?" And she says to me, "Those apples come from a tree. You can't eat apples that are grown on a tree." I believe that in the United States, we are so far separated from our food that we don't think about the fact that most of our food is grown in the ground and comes from a warm, living animal. Yeah, cold cuts and stuff like that, that's not normal. That's just what you see in a store. That's not where it actually comes from. So yeah, you're definitely not the first person I've heard not realize that you can just eat fruit off of a tree.
A lot of people only go off on what they were taught, so I can't blame these people if they think that fruits that comes from directly from a tree isn't edible. I wonder what they think about vegetables or other crops.
I didn't want to do that. Y'all have been doing this now for 30 years. 30 years. 30. What do you know now about one another that you didn't know 30 years ago?
Well, I know now how good he is. You know, because I seen his growth. You know, from Fresh Prince and to movies and all the way to what he's accomplished. It's just, I'm just really impressed.
And just with Martin, just how absolutely honest and like open his heart is. You know,
It looks very different.
You know, and it's like I just.
Is it just old age?
Calm and firm.
Look at him.
No
Look.
problem saying what's absolutely true in his heart.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
It's like he's zoned
You
out.
got somebody in your life that's like that. Who is your ride or die?
My ride or die is my best friend Larry White.
Movies doesn't end just because the director says cut. For all we know, this could still be part of it. They know they will be talked about. They know there are a lot of conspiracy theorists who will dissect this video and talk about it, so it could just be publicity.
Since 1955, McDonald's has proudly advertised 247 billion burgers sold worldwide. That's an impressive number. What's interesting about these numbers is in 2022, they did a clock on cows globally. We only had 1 million globally, approximately. Where we getting all this beef?
And this could just be wishful thinking, but I do hope they just added other animals and not just cows. But there are civilizations, cultures, tribes who eat people, who are cannibalistic. When did that actually stop? Soylent Green, anyone?
So I just found this out. If you go to Google Images and you type in 2024, it's all normal, just 2024, nothing crazy. You scroll back up, you put in 2025, and look what you see. Apocalypse, mask, lockdown, Armageddon, fighting, Earth exploding, all this crazy stuff. But then, when you scroll back up, you go to 2026, it's everything you'll see. It's just normalcy. 2026, no big deal. You know, nothing crazy is going on this year. But then when you go back to 2027, you'll see end of the world, shit's blowing up, everything's crazy, an explosive, apocalypse, freaking all this crazy stuff. Or asteroid, you saw the asteroid. 2028 is where it gets weird for America, apparently. It's all about America ending and countdown to apocalypse and, you know, mass chaos and whatnot. And then, again, 29 is where it kicks off. Explosion, literally destruction, chaos. Should we worry? Shit's blowing up. Explosions, apocalypse. And now watch what 2030 is. Watch. Futuristic, AI, cities controlled by artificial intelligence, humans possibly controlled by them, United Nations stuff. What do they have planned for 2030?
Are we just overthinking here? We become too conspiratorial that we find fault in everything. Nevertheless, it's an interesting time we live in. Can't wait to see what's gonna happen next.
That sheds new light on a notorious crime, the hijacking of an airplane by the baggage handler.
I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit.
Richard Russell worked at the Seattle-Tacoma airport. The new video shows him going through security wearing a t-shirt that reads, "The sky's no limit." Then he tows an empty Alaska Airlines 70-seater plane and positions it to face the runway. But look what happens when he unhitches the tow line. The plane starts moving forward with no one at the controls. Incredibly, Russell runs alongside, gets the door to open, runs up the steps, and shuts the door behind him. 5 minutes later, he takes off.
Wow.
I found myself in a bit of a predicament. I'm in the air right now.
Did you just take off?
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to be on that aircraft?
No.
What followed was a Homeland Security nightmare. Russell flew the plane around Seattle for an hour, even doing aerobatics. National Guard fighter jets were scrambled in fear that terrorists were on board. Russell's communication with air traffic control was a forecast of what was about to happen.
I wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it.
The 2018 drama ended when Russell crashed the plane onto a remote island, killing himself.
I didn't know they just leave planes like that, parked vacant, and it's as if anybody can just climb the cockpit and fly a plane.
Heat waves in China are actually insane. China recently had their hottest month in observed modern history that could melt flip-flops, cook pancakes, and even get cars pregnant if they were left out in the sun for too long. But here's the part that blew my mind. When it gets really hot in China, people escape the heat by flooding into supermarkets and malls, not to shop, but just to sit there in the air conditioning. They will fill up the aisles, the staircases. This footage shows a man lying on the ground playing on his phone while his foot is inside the fridge. And elsewhere in the store, another guy can be seen sat on a meat-filled refrigerator taking the produce and putting it under his armpits
That's too much.
to cool down. And believe it or not, this behavior is not really uncommon. When IKEA first launched in China, it was known as the people's bedroom. I mean, at first, IKEA did try and fight it, and they would have staff going around asking people not to sleep on the beds or the couches. But because of the sheer frequency of it, they eventually gave up. One supermarket said they have around 300 to 400 people every single day cooling off in their store. And according to reports, it's not that people don't have AC. You have young people often willing to turn it on. It's just that the older generation in China, which have been living frugal all of their lives, look for free alternatives because they see turning on the AC as a waste of money. And because the majority of these groups are made up by the elderly, it makes it so much harder for staff. Because they say even though it can start to smell like sweat and bare feet and disturb other customers, if they ask them to leave, they often get upset and say that they are doing a favor to the supermarket by being there. And that is why
This is another type of heat. I mean, I don't think this happens in the desert or in any other places like Africa perhaps. But something's different about this heat right here. China has turned that sun simulator way up.
You want to get arrested for what you're posting on social media? They are literally arresting people in the UK for sharing the riot on social media. This behind me is absolutely insane. So if you don't know, the UK is having mass riots, right? Because of the immigration coming in, terrible things happening to children. Well, guess what? They are saying on their mainstream news that it's now illegal for them to share on Twitter, Facebook, anything about the riot. That if they literally shared anything happening right outside of their doors on social media, they could be arrested for inciting the riots. So basically, they're trying to sweep under the rug what's happening in the UK. Sounds like Bangladesh.
I'm joined by Matthew Thompson now to talk through this. So Matthew, the last point there is crucial, isn't it? Some people might be sharing simply to warn their friends, but it could be considered an offence because they're amplifying this.
Absolutely, and that's the key message, is that however you think you're acting innocently on social media, whatever platform it is, you're just sharing something for whatever reason, that could potentially be a criminal offence. And look, it's not an idle threat either, because the Crown Prosecution Service were keen to point out that they've made a number of charges in relation to stirring up of online, one of which this morning was for distributing a recording that could, in intending to stir up rage. They are actually already bringing charges in relation to this sort of...
And remember the opinions from the people in the UK. They're saying America's like an early stage where they are at right now.
If they can do this in a first world country, it's just a matter of time. I'm sure other countries will be next. It's like they're showing us what they're gonna do, just letting it happen. I mean, what else can we do? I do hope the people in the UK is alright in spite of what's currently going on. Somehow we're glad that TikTok is here because we wouldn't get this news anywhere else. How else can the people in the UK get the word out of what's going on if they are censoring this in YouTube or any other platforms? In fact, you can even get arrested for sharing news.
There is so much of our past hidden under what we think are just piles of rocks. But upon closer inspection, they are anything but. Signs of the many resets of our realm are not to just be found in the many layers of dried mud beneath us. As we look at some of these magnificent structures from ancient civilizations long past that are said to be carved from hammer and chisel, you can see a clear melting type destruction pattern on these buildings. Think Archimedes' mirror, or perhaps a plasma storm-like event that left its trace realm-wide. Look at the Black Pyramid of Egypt. It is clear one of those great pyramids of Egypt exposed to one of these events, leaving the top melted and blackened and deformed. I think there are many pyramids like this Black Pyramid still to be found all across the world. Many think these are the results of a man-made event, like an ancient nuclear war. Others, like myself, I believe this was a plasma storm, part of a repeating cycle like the mud flood. Whatever the cause, it definitely left its mark the world over. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
I guess the great minds in the world thinks it's a waste of time to dig deeper or investigate what actually happened or what's going on here. What is going on? It's like the audio is just added in.
They're trying to make this dentist look psycho for telling people how they can prevent their cavities and strengthen their enamel without all the crap these big corporations in America are trying to sell you. Hear what she has to say.
See, this outer hard layer, the enamel of our teeth, is really made up of lots of little crystals. And if we can put minerals back into our teeth, they will recrystallize and regrow this enamel layer that is our protection. It's the covering over the outside of teeth. If you have sensitive teeth, this is what you need to do.
She goes on to talk about calcium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate. Calcium carbonate is actually a natural mineral that's found in rocks. It helps strengthen your enamel and also neutralize the acids in your mouth to protect from cavities. Sodium bicarbonate helps fight your bad breath and remove any stains that you have on your teeth. She's talking about this because so many of our department store toothpaste have harsh chemicals in them. Guys, if you have any of these in your toothpaste, you need to throw it out ASAP. It's so strange that none of our toothpaste have calcium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate. So that to me says that they don't want us to have it, which makes sense because the dental industry is literally going to hit $254 billion by 2032. They want you to keep coming back to the dentist. They want you to have cavities. They want you to spend your money when you can be using a more natural toothpaste that has sodium bicarbonate and calcium bicarbonate. So you're actually fighting your cavities and you have your teeth looking amazing. When I saw what was in my toothpaste, I stopped using that 2 months ago. I threw them all away. I have not looked back since because I only want to use something that's natural and good for my teeth. The ones I use are really interesting. They're actually toothpaste tablets. So you put them in your mouth and you just crush them up and they turn into like this purple foam that you brush your teeth with. You only need one. They come in a pack of 30. They're $15, which literally costs you like a bowl of Chipotle. They have sodium bicarbonate, calcium bicarbonate. My teeth have been so healthy the last 2 months. I mean, look at this shine. Like, look at this color. I will live and die by these Snow toothpaste tablets. That's how strongly I feel about them. I just take them on the go. I use them every day. It's so much better than anything that I've seen at, Target, Walmart, whatever. So if you guys are serious about strengthening your enamel and really getting those stains off your teeth so they can be the healthiest they've ever been, I'm going to link these for you guys down below. They do sell out hella fast. So if you see them there, that means they're still in stock.
If this is something that piques your interest and you're on your way into living a different lifestyle, you can start by looking for toothpastes that doesn't have fluoride. You can start with that.
You know that trees, if there's an insect that is on that tree, based on the insect's saliva, the tree can tell what kind of insect it is, and then it will release a chemical into the air that would draw the predator of that insect to the tree.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It will also release a chemical in the air to alert the other trees in the area.
Yeah.
And so when that insect goes to the other trees, they've already been alerted and they've changed the taste of their leaves so that when the insect bites it, it doesn't like it.
That is insane.
This is real science.
Shut up.
This makes me think that trees are sentient beings who know that they are a different life form They even communicate to one another. They've been here far longer than humans.
Hey, if you're still here, please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and liking this video recommends this to other people. Thanks.
Here's an experiment I want to tell you that absolutely proves that the Earth don't spin. It involves a helicopter. I made this experiment up myself. You take a helicopter, you can get up to 15,000 feet. You can sit there and hover. You can hover at 0 miles an hour, literally not go an inch north, south, east, or west. So you hover this helicopter for 4-5 hours, 20,000 feet. Did you know that you can come right back down where you took off? Now think about the implications of that. That tells you that ground ain't moving. Now, a lot of people are going to say, the helicopter has inertia. Well, here's what I've got to tell you. If you ever run on a track, if me and you are equally fast and I run on the inside and you run on the outside of the track, who wins that race? You. So what I'm telling you is when that helicopter goes up to 20,000 feet and it's sitting there hovering for 4 hours, not only does it have to spin 1,000 miles an hour, it has to spin more than 1,000 miles an hour to go back to the same spot that it landed. Because now the Earth would be not attached to that helicopter, and it has to cover more distance to land in the same spot.
I added this here because he does make sense. It's a good mental exercise. Whether you believe it or not, it makes you think.
So it begins.
I announced today that following this meeting, we will establish a national capability across police forces to tackle violent disorder, shared intelligence, wider deployment of facial recognition technology. Violent disorder, clearly whipped up online, that is also a crime.
They bring in people from different nationalities, different religion beliefs, different ideologies, and stick them all together. Shockingly, they don't get on. Then they complain about violent rising crime, children get stabbed, and now they enact a communist-style surveillance state and strip citizens of their privacy and freedom. Very much like 1984. There's people in the comments calling me racist, saying I'm bigoted and I hate people of different colours. No, I see what's going to happen. And Ireland is still free from this, and I want it to remain that way.
No matter what your take is on the 9/11 event, and I'm sorry for the lives lost, but this reminds me of that incident. They created the problem so they can create the solution, and the solution back then was a police state where the rules got more strict. And I think this is patterned after that. They created a problem by allowing illegal immigrants to come in so they can enforce stricter laws. And let's see what's gonna happen next.
Courtroom procedures.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Part 1.
Your attribute for the record, please.
Sean Matilda Cushman L. on behalf of the Marrakesh Empire Aboriginal Laws.
All right. I want to ask you a couple of questions, please. The first question I want to ask you is, are you employed?
Objection, man. This hearing is supposed to be about jurisdiction. This court has no jurisdiction. The court has no jurisdiction to determine its own jurisdiction for a basic issue in any case before a tribunal.
Well, if I have no jurisdiction to determine my own jurisdiction, how are you going to get that issue resolved?
Listen, this case in this courtroom is a culpable, incompetent court of jurisdiction. You can't, according to federal case law, you can't set another hearing to reach and determine your own jurisdiction. As I've stated for the record plenty of times, I'm only handling threat, duress, and coercion, and because the prosecution falsely holds my property, and I'm here to clarify that matter. Other than that, I'm here under threat, duress, and coercion. It is completely against federal case law. It has power to act, and a court must have the authority to decide that question in the first instance. That's Rescue Army versus Municipal Court of Los Angeles. A departure by a court from the recognized and established requirements of law, however close apparent adherence to mere form and method of procedure, which has the effect of depriving one of a constitutional right, It's an excess of jurisdiction. You have the flag right behind you, ma'am.
May I interrupt you for a moment?
You may not, ma'am.
Then
Objection.
would you, when you're done speaking, would you let me know so that I can ask a question?
I'm not obligated to answer any questions, so I have no intentions of answering any question.
Well, I'll ask it anyway, and then I'll ask it anyway, and you can decide what you want to say.
Thus, where a judicial tribunal has no jurisdiction of the subject matter on which it assumes to act, its proceedings are absolutely void in the fullest sense of the term, Dillon versus Dillon. Courts enforcing mere statutes, as it is to my understanding that this is a statute, not a constitutional violation of law. In fact, one of the hearings I had with you, you said people are not charged with constitutional violations. I don't understand how you could be enforcing statutes and you have the U.S. flag behind you, as if you hadn't taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. Courts enforcing their statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially. Thus, no judicial immunity, and unlike courts of law, do not obtain jurisdiction by service of process, nor even arrest and compelled appearance. Boswell versus Otis. I've been here 3 or 4 times under threat of arrest and coercion. Prosecution doesn't even have folders in front of him. He has no objections. He has nothing to say. He cannot prove jurisdiction. This court should have been dismissed this case. This is a colorable court of incompetent jurisdiction. The fact that petitioner was released on a promise to appear before a magistrate for an arraignment, that fact is circumstance to be considered in determining whether the first instance there was a probable cause for the arrest. Monroe versus Popper. There is no discretion to ignore the lack of jurisdiction. Court must prove on the record all jurisdiction facts related to the jurisdiction asserted. A universal principle, as old as the law, is that proceedings of a court without jurisdiction are a nullity and its judgment therein without effect either on person or property. This case has already been put before the federal court and you will be receiving a notice of removal very shortly. This court has no jurisdiction. Prosecution can't prove jurisdiction. This case shall be dismissed, and it will.
Did you file a notice of removal with the federal court?
Yes, you will be receiving it shortly.
All right. Well, when I receive it, I will rule on it. This is my question to you, however. Are you employed?
I'm not employed. I'm not employed with any corporations incorporated with the state of New Jersey.
Are you employed with any corporation that's incorporated outside of the state of New Jersey?
Objection. I'm not here to answer questions about my employment. The last time I was made aware of this was supposed to be about whether this court has jurisdiction, and clearly it doesn't. A question about employment has nothing to do with whether this court has jurisdiction, so I'm not obligated to answer those questions. No, I shall not be answering any more of those questions that are not pertaining to jurisdictional facts.
Well, this is my question to you. I asked it before. If your position is that this court has no jurisdiction to determine its own jurisdiction.
Objection, man. That is not my ruling. That is not my holding. I've given you the federal case law regarding such. Maybe you can take some time out that you need to do to recheck that, but that's what the case law says, not what I said.
Well, I do have jurisdiction over you. Number one, you're here in my courtroom.
Objection, man. You do not have jurisdiction over me. I'm here by way of threat, duress, and coercion. The federal case law stipulates already that compelled appearance and arrest warrants doesn't give a minister acting ministerially and not judicially enforcing their statute's jurisdiction. That's incorrect and false. You do not have jurisdiction because I'm here. You told me before when I was here that you would lock me up if I didn't come, which was threat, duress, and coercion.
I think that you misstate what I told you.
Objection, ma'am. I have not misstated. I have the videos. I have it on repeat 24/7. I've seen you say it.
I don't recall that I said I would lock you up.
Well, objection, ma'am. That's on the record.
Well, you can object all that you want, sir. And I will continue to have a difference of opinion about that.
This is how they confuse regular people with big words. Not having to deal with this should be an incentive for everyone not to do any crimes. But if you were put in this situation unwillingly, do what you will with this information.
What is that?
Like 2 of them chasing each other on one.
Definitely hit something.
I'm confused. I don't know what it is.
The smoke comes from that side.
What is that? Is that like a UFO?
No, that's a rocket.
It's two or one?
I don't know, but
Back here it looked like it was just one thing.
The rocket hitting the firmament.
Alright, that's it for today's session. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please excuse the audio issue we're having with the microphone. Nevertheless, thank you for joining me today. And special thanks to our new subscribers. And to the people that's visiting, welcome to the channel. Please consider subscribing. Thanks again for showing up, everyone. And I will see you around.